Hello and welcome to the show. I am here on Forza Horizon 2 with another rally car build. My vehicle today is the Porsche Cayenne. This is one of the two free sort of booster cars, I think they call them. Two free Porsches on Horizon 2. They are free until the 24th of July, so if you haven't got them already, quickly go and get them. You can find it via the Forza Hub. I'm not even sure if you can't find them straight on the marketplace, but go and get them quickly before the 24th of July. I don't know if there'll be a paid-for thing afterwards or whether they'll just not be around. But yeah, I thought we'd give the Cayenne a go because, well, it's sort of the big brother of the Macan, and the Macan went really rather quickly. For the sort of car it is, the Macan did really, really well, so I was curious to see how the Cayenne would do, because they start off at almost exactly the same PI. There's only, I think, 2 or 3 in it, but they're very, I say they're very different. The Cayenne has about 100 more horsepower, but it's about 500, 600 pounds heavier to start with. So, yeah, there's more power, but there's also more weight. I'm kind of curious how to see the results of this will come out. Now, as per normal, the rules of the series, well, the cars have to be 4-wheel drive, which the Porsche is. It must have the off-road tyres. It must have the Storm Island Rally gearbox for some nice short gear ratios, and it must have the off-road suspension. And then the rest of the parts are up to me to make it into S1 class. Now, as you can see, we have a lot of weight. An awful lot of weight in here, so handling is going to be critical. I'm just going to try and sort of chuck in all the handling parts possible into this car in the hope that I can kind of get it to deal with the corners. Weight reduction, of course, is going to be very important. It's only £1,000 out of it, 3,700. It's a lot of weight. Just to put this into context, okay, the RS200 that went round as our current leader was £2,300 with 500 horsepower. You kind of get the idea of just how the task this thing has ahead of it. Now, I don't really want the 200 pounds of extra weight from the roll cage, but I'm also aware that a big off-road car, we might want the chassis reinforcement and so on. I can't decide. If it's a good thing to go for or not. Bugger it, we're going for it. I think we're going to have to... I need the handling, basically. Aero is most definitely, of course, we're going to want to get front and rear aero. Oh, we have one of the humongous double wings on the back of the Porsche. What can we get in the way of conversions, actually? We can do an engine. We can do a V12. Ooh, so you can get a lot of power in this. The V12, I'm kind of tempted by it. No, we won't go for the V12. I kind of like the torque from the standard engine in this one. Yeah, the V12 means you could get a potentially 1,180 odd horsepower Porsche. Definitely not S1 class Porsche, but you can get a lot of power in this. Tyre widths, I almost forgot. We have got 325 tyres. They're not too bad, actually. Not too bad having these. I would always like bigger and bigger tyres. I think that's bigger than the Macan. I can't remember the Macans, but they're okay. They're okay. It is a big, heavy car, but often with a big, heavy car, kind of stability sort of works in your favour in some respects. Having that little bit more weight keeps it a little bit more stable over the bumps. Whereas the likes of the RS200 and some of like the Porsche Cayenne even that went round, they were very light and very twitchy. Now I'm going through here, sticking on all of these handling parts because, well, we're going to want just as little weight as possible. It's a futile task in many respects because we can get it down to 3,880 with an exhaust and maybe some pistons or valve upgrades. We can get it down a little bit more. Yeah, okay, we got it under 3,800 now. We actually can't upgrade the pistons. I'm guessing this being a sport version, there isn't quite the same amount of stuff to toy around with. And now, looking at the rest of these parts, we've kind of got two options for sort of the big PI gains. We can either go for camshafts or we can go turbos. What do we want? Okay, so turbos, we can get 596. We can get good torque, 596 horsepower. We are upping the weight again. But we aren't upping the PI as much, so we can get more power out of it. I'm kind of tempted to go with turbos. Then that means we do have to have a little fiddle. Can we find the combination of parts to get the PI? I'm guessing that's going to be a silly... Yeah, that's not going to work. Can we find the combination of parts to get it up to... do any of you... Oh, I know what will lose me weight. Of course, air filter. We will stick that on there. That'll drop some more weight off it. And then we have 3 PI. Any of you? No, bugger it. I bet we're going to have the... the futile game of... Oh, for heaven's sake. Yeah, okay, this is the fun and games of trying to find a way of making the absolute most out of it. That's 3-0, that's, aha! There we go. That'll do. I'm taking it. 618 horsepower, 638 foot-pounds of torque. So we have plenty of power and plenty of torque. But it's 3,800 pounds. That is a lot of weight. Again, Ford RS200, 500 horsepower, was so it was 100 horsepower, give or take, less than this, 1,500 pounds lighter. You get the idea of why that RS200 was so fast, and it still had the grip to go with it. Although this does give me one sort of confidence boost, if you like, about this vehicle, is that often we've had heavy cars, think of the Cadillac Escalade, had 800-900 horsepower almost in it. This can only get 600 horsepower in it and be an S1 class, which suggests to me that we might actually have some decent enough handling, much like the Macan. So it could be pretty quick, this vehicle. Right, we shall back out of there and go and test it at the Forest Brawl circuit, our usual testing ground, where I have 5 laps to go as fast as possible. Now, our current leader is the RS200 with a 58.438, sorry. And I very, very highly doubt this Porsche is even going to compete with that. The more interesting thing will be to see how the Cayenne compares to the Macan. The Macan sits on a time of 1 minute .391 and is the second fastest sort of SUV and off-roader behind the Defender, a 1 minute .1. So the Cayenne has got them to sort of aim for. Maybe it'll be the first one to get under the 1 minute mark. I don't know. We will have to see how the car handles. Acceleration-wise, it's not too bad. I mean, there's plenty of power and plenty of torque. We are quite over... Ooh, okay. We got a twitch on through turn 1 there. It is actually quite oversteery. This car is not quite as planted as I would like it from. It's also going to suffer in comparison in that the last vehicle I drove around here was ridiculously fast. And, well, this is probably not going to be as quick, although it's very nice through that turn there. It deals with the bumps so much nicer than the little sports cars and so on that have gone around here the last few episodes. It deals... Look at it just plow through the bumps. Yeah, they hold no fear for the Cayenne, as you might expect. Oh, God, that sudden kick of oversteer is a little bit of a pain in the arse, quite frankly. Okay, how do we fly over the jump? Whee, a bit scarily, but we are across. Straight line speed, how do we fare with that? 137, 138 we got out of the RS200. 134, it's not too shabby, it's around about average. Actually, that's not bad, considering its sort of size and weight. Please stop sliding, Porsche. Please behave yourself around here. I think maybe dropping it down a gear is a bit better through here. Try and get it under control so we can fire it out the other side of this corner. This is where we're going to have to make up time now, dealing with the bumps. We can, I'm hoping, be flat out here. 104 miles an hour, that's quick. Oh, that's too quick. Too quick in the wrong place. Okay, I carried too much speed through there, and then we got a very, very big amount of airtime. Right, I've actually had a car carry too much speed through there before. I have to be aware of that with the Cayenne. So the RS200 really struggle, and other sort of the small lighter cars, Porsche Cayenne is another example, really struggle with the bumps around the second half of the lap. The Cayenne has absolutely no problems with them whatsoever. It absolutely none of the issues. So we can be faster through the second half of the lap, but it's all about will we be fast enough with the huge amount of weight we have on here. Brakes, again, for such a big vehicle, the brakes aren't that bad. It gets stopped in relative decent time. I mean, yes, it doesn't feel as quick through these corners as the RS200, and it's as I said, it's always going to struggle in comparison to that. But for what it is, it does remarkably well. Okay, now let's try and not get too carried away through here. That was better. We've lined ourselves up a bit neater for the sort of secondary jump across there. How do we fare speed-wise through here? Can we carry decent... That's not bad at all for an SUV. About 103 miles an hour through there. And then go! Come on, Porsche. Use that speed. Use that acceleration. Or try and use that speed and acceleration. What there is of it. Can we fly nicely this time? We can relatively nicely. Across there. What are we going to do lap time wise? 1 minute 0.5. That's not too bad, or an opening gambit from the Porsche. Sort of chuck it into turn one sideways. Does slide a little bit too much for my liking. It's only a little bit though. Yeah, you can kind of tell the weight when you really push. It's not bad at all, but you can sort of tell that it's a bit of a bigger, heavier car. Try and carry more speed through that turn, and when you do, you get so much airtime. We do flatten out on the landings there really well. I do love the way this car is dealing with the landings. And again, it's 103, 104 miles an hour through there is really impressive. Now, this is where I think we may struggle. It's just not got the power. It's not got the acceleration out of that final turn because of all of the weight. Again, that's a bit better. A little bit better on the line. This is actually not going to be too bad of a lap here from the Cayenne. It's a 1 minute 0.4. It's remarkably close to the Macan. Yeah, it's a very similar vehicle. In all honesty, well, it's a bit heavier but a bit more power, and it kind of evens itself out. Right, kind of trying to carry as much speed as I can. This first section, it doesn't really like. It's sort of too tight, and the car just doesn't have the grip. Right, carry the speed down here, and then sort of try and cut that jump as much as I can, and be neat with the landings. With the Cayenne, I'm trying everything I can to get the most out of this car. Oh, I ran the banking a little bit there on the inside. I think I may have blown the final lap. I don't know. It's going to be very close. Actually, fairly similar lap times for the Cayenne. Fly through the air. Come on, land nicely. Oh, I'm landing a bit too much nose down. Come on, car, you can do it. It is. Yeah, an improvement, but only ever so slightly. A 1 minute 0.410 from the Porsche. It puts it into 20th place, 0.02 of a second behind the Macan. Near enough identical cars. Yeah, the Cayenne a little bit more powerful, a little bit heavier, comes out the other side, pretty much identical to the Macan. Relatively easy to drive. It certainly deals with the bumps a lot nicer than I have seen quite a few of the recent sports cars. It is quite nice around that final sector of the lap, but there's just not quite the grip from this car. Still, a 1 minute 0.4 is not bad. It beats the Impreza, the Tesla, the Evo 8, and it's, yeah, as I said, it's not too bad of a lap time at all from this. Only a fraction behind the GT40 and the Porsche 914. So for this size and this weight, that's a good lap time. It is the third fastest of the SUV slash off-roaders. Yes, a solid car. Definitely a solid car to drive, but it's just a bit too heavy. Power-to-weight ratio is not quite enough for this vehicle, and of course, with all that extra weight when you come to the corners, it's just not quite quick enough. But I'm still pretty impressed with how well the Cayenne did. Anyway, that is it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.